Evening, friends and family out there. So we made it to the Dunes campground. It's another sunny, blistering day, but we're here for you guys. So take a look at our first meal for our first day for dinner. We're going to do some chicken, which is just a thin chicken breast with salt and pepper, and we're doing butter corn and water and just salt. Another simple recipe. I hope you guys are trying some of these recipes on your own, and we'll get back to you in a minute to show you how it all looks all set and done. Be right back, guys. Hey everyone, dinner is served. Chicken and corn. Enjoy. See you in a minute. Hey everyone, hope you stuck along with us after dinner. Dinner was great. We're here at the Dune Campground outside in Chesterton, Indiana. We're 47 miles from Chicago. Nice thing about this property is 2,182 acres, and 1,500 of it is actually the Dunes' actual natural lakeshore. We're going to hit Trail 7 now. This is going to take us over to Trail 4. We're going to try and get some footage, and we're going to try and end up above the beach because we're near the beach, and I did mention in the last video that we are going to be near the beach. So stick along with us. We're going to hit some trail, give you some footage, and hey, well, just come along and have a good time with us. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm exhausted. You know what we just did? We just did part of the 3 Dune challenge here. We're on Mount Tom Dune right now. It's 192 feet elevation. And you saw some of the stairs I was climbing, man. I mean, I'm pooped. And there's a 43-degree lean angle up here too, man. 56 million people have came through here to either do the challenge or just to check out Mount Tom. And you saw the little shot behind us about the lake. It's just fantastic, guys. You know, stick around. We got more footage for you. We're going to take a little bit of a break right now because me and Mike are just flat out exhausted. We'll see you in a minute. Whew. Whew. Hello, everyone. We made it back from from Mount Tom. It was a little bit of a trek. We kind of cheated a little bit. We didn't go all the way back down because it was a long trail. So we kind of took the shortcut back to the parking lot and came over here back to the nature center. So as you see behind me, you have the Nature Center here. And it's, again, you know, I always try and highlight the most important things of each park. And if you take a look at this center, it's huge. They do all kinds of interpretive programs here. You can log into the website for the Dunes Campground to find out when those events are so you can be a part of them. I'm glad you guys are joining us for this evening. We are still going to try and get a shot of the sunset over the beach. We're not sure we're going to get it so far, but we're going to try and get that for you guys too. But just keep in mind, you know, when you get out there, always stay hydrated. I mean, we're going through water like it's crazy. We're fortunate enough here at the Dunes Campground that's here in Chesterton is that we actually have water wells in a lot of places. Water well may not be the safest, but I mean, don't get me wrong, it is safe. It's not the tastiest is what I mean. So if you're on a trail and you run out of water, please stop by, maybe even the Nature Center here, get some water from, you know, the pump, make sure you have some hydration because you can sweat a gallon of water in heat like this. And if you're going up those hills, like, you know, me and Mike just did 192 feet direct climb up Mount Tom. So definitely make sure you're hydrated and stick along with us because we got a lot more to show you before the day is over. See you in a few. Hey guys, you know, another thing that's really cool about the Nature Center being where it is here is that you have trail 7, 8, 9, and 10 that they all start right here. The nice thing, the trail that we took that took us up to the mountain, that actually we started on 7 and that took us up to 4. So if you just want to come here to do the trails, come to the Nature Center. And like I said, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you connect with 4 and the Mount Tom and some of the other dunes. So hey, definitely start your trip here, hydrate and get going. Good evening, everyone. Where we are now at Indiana Dunes State Park is a little area called La Petite Fort. It's very little is known about it. Only thing known about it is from letters and from command dispatches. But a battle was fought here during the Revolutionary War. What kind of battle, Mike? Well, it was a battle for supplies. Really? In the 1800s, and actually the 1700s, late 1700s, this area was controlled by the British. Really? And them and their Indian allies lived in this area. And what happened at around 1780, about December 5th, thereabouts, 16 men from an area called La Coquia, Illinois. If I butchered it for anyone who knows, I apologize. They came down here. They started with 16 men. And by the time they got down to here, they had 30 men. And what they did is they portaged over to where current South Bend, Indiana is. And then they worked their way down from South Bend down the St. Joseph River to the St. Joseph Fort. Wow. Where they raided it. Holy cow. And they were only 30 men, but that was all that was needed because all the Indians were out for the early hunting season, so there was no one to defend the base. Wow. And so what happened is they came away with over 50 bales of furs. Wow, that must have been expensive money for them. Yeah, but then the British caught wind of it. And Lieutenant Thomas Brady and British forces with their Indian allies, gotta correct myself, came down. And when they came down, as I said, the fort was not defended. There was no one there because they were out on their early hunt. So what happened is Lieutenant Thomas Brady and a contingent of British soldiers and Indian allies cornered them at this very spot. This very spot? This very spot. Wow, okay. Now, the British forces gave them the ability to surrender, but they refused to surrender. Now, an interesting fact is in the battle that ensued, it turned out there were only 16 of the men left because the people that they picked up along the way to get here had, faded off with their spoils. So it was just the 16 men. And what happened is they opened fire. The British Army and the Indians opened fire on them, and they captured all of them. They only killed 2 of them, but they captured the rest of them. And the interesting thing about that is the British forces and their Indian allies didn't take an injured person at all on their side. Well, all that here in the dunes. All that here in this dunes. And that's awesome. And the only reason we know about it in history is because of the British dispatch that sent Lieutenant Brady here to bring them to justice, and the half-Indian guy that started the raid in the first place. Wow, that is awesome. More of the lovely facts of the Indiana Dunes. Take care, everybody. See you in the next segment. Hey, Mike, wasn't there a story about some lady who back in the day lived on the beach out here somewhere? Do you know anything about that?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
I wonder if anybody out there has ever heard of a woman named Ellis Mabel Gray.
Ellis Mabel Gray. That sounds
Ellis Mabel
crazy.
Gray, that was her name.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was her story?
Well, she was a highly educated woman who had got herself a college degree and tried to work in the city of Chicago, believe it or not, is where she first started her work ethic. And she knew multiple languages. I think she was a history major. You can double check the facts, but I know she had a bachelor's degree. And she just got tired of the rat race, I guess you could say.
So she left the city to move out here?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And she moved on the beach?
Yeah, about 1915.
Wow.
Yeah, she was 34 years old at the time. And she just wanted to be alone, and so she moved away. She moved away from the rat race.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happened to her?
Well, for the first 5 years, nothing.
Really?
Actually, nobody knew anything about her. She was quiet. She kept to herself. But she wasn't a hermit by any sense of the word.
Really?
Oh, no. Ellis Mabel Gray was, she went to the library in Miller when Miller was just a village.
Okay. Miller was a village at one time. Okay.
But from what I understand, Gary had already annexed it.
Really?
City of Gary. And so she would frequent the Miller branch of the Gary Public Library.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She would go there. And when she didn't go there, she would go to Chicago to visit the Chicago museums.
Wow, so she was really well-mannered, huh?
Yeah, she just enjoyed history. And she just grew to love the dunes. As a matter of fact, a lot of the dunes that exist today are due to her notoriety and how famous she became.
Oh, really?
Now, that's a little bit of a further story.
So what happened to her?
Well, now when she moved here, it was 1915. As I said, she was 34 years old. Okay. And she found an old abandoned shack on the beach.
How convenient.
Isn't that convenient,
Yeah.
right? And so what she did is that no one claimed it. There was no one around, and so she moved in.
Really?
She built her own driftwood furniture, and for the 5 years she was there, she survived on fish and berries.
Wow.
Yep, and she would read, and she would write in her journal. She just kept herself busy and loved solitude and peace.
Wow. Did she stay that way for her whole life here?
No, not really. Unfortunately, after she was there about 5 years, a fisherman happened to be fishing offshore in Lake Michigan.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and he saw a naked woman swimming in the water.
Wow.
And then she proceeded to get out of the water, and she was a pretty young woman.
Okay.
No one knew who it was at the time. And so she got out of the water, and she was running along the beach to keep dry, believe it or not.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And so when he got back to port, after he was fishing, he told the reporters.
Okay.
I think it was the National Examiner that first heard of the story.
Oh, so now her solitude was destroyed.
That's right. And
wow.
So what happened is they came out and they seeked her out. They looked for her.
Oh my.
And they found her.
Okay.
And then upon interviewing her, they asked her, "Why are you out here? Alone, a pretty woman all alone out on the dunes."
What'd she say?
She said she loved the solitude and the peace and the ability to commune with nature.
Oh, really?
Really. Isn't that amazing?
That's really amazing.
And because of the fact that she was swimming nude on the beach, and that she was running naked along the beach, the Examiner nicknamed her Diana of the Dunes. Now, is that a name? I wonder if anyone's familiar with.
Wow, I'd never heard of it. That sounds cool. Diana of the Dunes.
Yep, and she was named after the Greek goddess of the same name.
Oh, of course. God named her after goddess.
Because she was, remember, if everyone remembers the story, the original, Diana, the goddess, came up in a clamshell out of the water.
Oh,
See how the parallels are there.
Amazing.
Yep. And she was really happy up for a long time.
How long was she there?
Oh, from 15 on to 2021, and then in 1920 to 21, she met a gentleman called Paul Wilson.
Okay, all right.
She started a relationship with this guy. Now, it was an interesting fact, and it was never disputed, that he was a man with a violent temper who
Oh
was
my.
6'2", big guy. And rumor had it that he used to beat Diana.
Oh, he would beat her. Oh, what a mean person.
Oh yeah, and so he beat her all the time. And once they got together, she moved out of Driftwood with him, and they moved to what is modern day Ogden Dunes today, in a place called Wren's Nest,
Oh, really?
where they
Okay.
stayed for the next couple of years.
And how did that work out?
Well, she had a child.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she gave birth to her second child, and she was diagnosed with uremia, which is a kidney failure disease.
Wow.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is the uremia that she was diagnosed with
Yeah.
was due to multiple blows to to a person's abdomen.
Oh, was that from her being beaten from Mr. Wilson?
One would guess that was probably how it happened.
Oh my goodness.
And the funniest thing about it, though, is she did not want to go to the hospital.
Wow.
She refused to go to the hospital.
So she never got better.
She never got better. And
Wow.
in late 1925, which is when she was diagnosed with it, she died.
So what happened to this evil guy who was beating her and the kids?
Well, Paul Wilson fled Indiana.
Oh, of course.
But that's not the end of the story.
Oh, it's not?
Oh, that is not the end of the story.
Really?
Yeah, after
What
her
happened next?
Well, after her death. Oh, just a little tidbit. Do you know that her kids, she had two daughters.
Okay.
They were taken into protective custody.
Thank God for that.
Oh, yeah, thank God for that. No kidding. Okay. Now, as I said, it's not the end of the story. I know I'm repeating myself, but this is where it gets really interesting.
Really? How does it get interesting?
Well, years later, after she died, after her death, there has been sightings all along the dunes, all the way from Ogden Dunes, all the way to Chesterton, all the way across, of a young woman swimming in the lake,
Ooh.
naked.
Okay.
And the same young woman running along the beach to dry herself off.
Ooh, that sounds crazy. So you're saying it's the ghost of that woman?
Rumor says that it's the ghost of Diana of the Dunes.
Oh my
who haunts
goodness.
the dunes to this very day.
Oh my.
So if you're out on the dunes one night and you're all alone, or you think you're alone, don't look over your shoulder, because Ellis or Diana may be looking right over your shoulder at you.
Good morning, friends and family. This is day 2 of our trip to the Dunes National Forest Campground. Yesterday we got you a nice shot in the evening of the sun going down. It was very nice. Told you we'd get you some lake shots, guys. We're going to do some trails here today before we hit breakfast. And I'll see you in a little bit, you know, after we get these trails out, get you some footage there, have some breakfast with us, and we'll see what today holds for us. See you in a few, guys. Hey guys, see that big old platform over there? That is the birding platform. They say there are so many species of birds here that you could go up there and there's going to be some species of bird that you probably haven't seen for a long time. That's our next little place we're going to. Stick around, let's see what's up there. Hey everyone, well, I'm back. I told you we were going to check out this really cool birding platform that's over here at the dunes. This is basically a huge hotspot for hundreds and hundreds of birds that actually come up here. So birders, they come over with binoculars and everything like that, and they actually try and see if they can see birds that they haven't seen before. And I did take a picture a few minutes ago of all the birds that were actually spotted here just in 2020. So what we're going to do is when we're doing the editing on this, we're going to try and blow that up and do a really good screenshot for you guys. So if you want to see what kind of birds were here, you can actually you know, learn what kind of birds are here, and maybe even come here with your friends and family, especially if you're a big bird watcher. And of course, I want to get another shot of the lake here. And again, this is Lake Michigan. We're outside of Gary in Chesterton at the Dunes National Forest Campground. So again, this is the birding platform, and it's a huge, huge attraction here. I guess birders basically come from all over the world, because you can see pretty much any type of bird from Indiana that ever existed in Indiana that's here. And if you're lucky enough to see one that's not checked off on the board, hey, you could go down there and put an X on it, and you like X marks the spot, and you just saw a bird that no one saw yet. See you in a few. Hey, good morning, Mike. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Awesome. So I hear that there's a story about this City West shelter. What's that all about?
Well, this is what remains of a ghost city by the name of City West.
Really? Why is it a ghost city? What happened here?
Well, in 1836, when Chicago had only a few hundred residences in it,
Uh-huh.
a couple of entrepreneurial businessmen came to this area and had grand visions of a big city that would rival Chicago and would even supplant them after a while.
A big city here.
A big city here, believe it or not.
Doesn't look like much.
No, not now. But then there's a little story, as everything else. There's a story behind it.
Ooh, another story? Okay.
Yeah, another story.
All right.
In this case, they came here and they invested in the property and in this area, and they started building a city here. The plan was they were going to make this the main port city of this area.
Wow.
Because we are, after all, on the tip of Lake Michigan right here. And they were going to expand the city out. And then just, as fate would have it, it just didn't work out that way.
What happened?
Because shortly after they visited, only a year to be exact.
Only a year. Okay.
Only a year, that's it. They had several hundred people in here. It looked like it might be a really good city. It was booming. It was starting to do okay. And then there was the Great Panic of 1837.
Great Panic of 1837. That sounds scary. What was that?
It was scary. Because in 1837, the banks, went bankrupt. A lot of businesses went bankrupt. And what happened is the city was built on credit. It was a speculating space because they were trying to build it into a city.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
They were investing a lot of money in it, a lot of property in it. And what happened is the Great Panic, with the banks closed their doors, loans were called in, people had their houses foreclosed, and all other kinds of things happened here.
Wow, sounds like that was a bad time.
Yeah, and then for the next 3 years, the city completely dwindled because no one could afford to stay here because they couldn't pay their debt, they couldn't pay their loans, and by 1839, this whole area was abandoned.
Wow.
It's hard to picture that this used to be the start of a big city. Now, City West, which was the name of the city, later, in 1850, burned to the ground.
Jeez. Everything went bankrupt and
the only remnants of City West is this shelter.
Wow.
It rests in the spot where the city once existed.
Unbelievable.
And then shortly after this, the few residences that managed to survive and hang on moved a little south of here.
Okay.
In an area called New City West, excuse me, let me get my facts correct. They stayed there for a little while. They had a steel mill, they had a copper mill, and they were, for all intents and purposes, they were pretty prosperous.
You said war. What happened?
And then fate would have it again. They had a sawmill as well, and the sawmill's boiler blew up.
Oh my goodness.
So as you can see, this area is you could say cursed almost.
Well, yeah, I just thought about that lady, Diana of the Dunes, man. This is just a weird, man.
And so what happened is a few years after that happened, they dwindled.
Oh my goodness, what a shame.
And what it became known as, since we got three dunes here, Mount Tom, which is the one we climbed yesterday.
That was a beast.
Yes, it was. And the other two, since they're those three dunes, three dunes. I keep saying domes. I'm sorry, folks. I'm a little crazy today. Gotta have another cup of coffee, I think.
I think so.
And so they renamed the city Tremont.
Oh, okay.
But all it was a village at that time.
Jeez.
All that was left was a couple of houses and a couple of roads.
That's a shame.
And so ended the saga of the ghost cities of the Indiana Dunes, Indiana.
Wow. I sure hope you enjoyed our program today at the Dunes today, this episode. We saw a lot of great stuff up here. We busted our butt on a lot of these trails for you guys to get you some footage. We were able to get to the top of Mount Tom Dune, which is 192 feet elevation. That thing was ridiculous, man. It was kicking our butts up and down, going up and down. Then today, we got to the bird observation deck, where there's hundreds and hundreds of different species of birds that have been found up there. We were able to learn about some of the ghost towns and the territories, even the fort that was here at one time. And this is all stuff that we didn't even know. And I really hope the way we changed up the program a little bit today with Mike doing a lot of history segments, I hope you really enjoyed that. And if you like it, put comments in there, because I really think we just had so much to tell you guys. We wanted to show you guys as much as we can. And like I said before, we limit our days here because we have to. It's just, we still have normal jobs we have to do. So when we get here, we try and cram as much as we can into that little half hour for you folks. We learned, that there's a lot more history, good and bad, about this area. And we also talked a little bit about people who don't take care of these beautiful properties that we're on. You saw the bit about me cleaning up that shelter where we learned about the city that used to be there. And if you guys notice, if you've seen even in the first one, I'm really a big fan of trying to conserve what we have, because it's not going to be here forever, with industry coming and going all the time and failing and succeeding and taking away our wildlands, and the fact we keep encroaching on wildlife. So keep in mind when you go out there, try and be a little more considerate, not only for the landscape, but your other campers, but also for the animals that actually live there. And if you think, we've put in roads through everything, man. We got roads through forest preserves. That's why you hear about deer hits and everything all the time. And I've hit a deer before myself, and boy, it's a mess when you hit one. And the one I hit wasn't even that big. Anyways, that's something else completely different. And you see, we always try and put something in there that we think a lot about. And we go back to the story about Diana of the Dunes. She's one of the early settlers actually on the beach. She found an abandoned hut that she lived in for 5 years. But yet, she didn't refuse to be around people. She just didn't prefer to be around people. So she would go into Chicago to go to the museums. She was well cultured. She'd go to the library in the village of Miller, which is now Miller Beach. We learned about that little fort. And if Mike wasn't bringing up that thing about the fort, I wouldn't even know that there was a little fort there. And just the fact that you look at where it was, there was really nothing there. I wouldn't have known about that. And so you see, what we're trying to do, we're trying to get this information out there for you guys. So if you come and visit us here in Indiana, you're going to see there's more here to do than you would actually even realize. And I really hope you get out there. And also another thing, I didn't mention this the last time, but some of these parks, they have entry fees that you come in. So me being a resident of Indiana, when I come in, I pay my camping fee and my whatever I need, but I also have to pay $7 to come on the property. And with that $7, that helps with the conservation efforts to keep the property going. Okay. And when you camp here, that helps with other programs for upkeep and to pay rangers and stuff like that. But I always try to end with something. First off, I want to thank you guys for joining us. And if you subscribed to the last video and you left a comment or like, I really appreciate it, because really, we're just starting this program. It's something brand new. And, if there's something you want to see, or you think there's something we missed, or maybe there's a little tidbit that we missed that you know about, let us know. And maybe in a future episode, we'll address that and maybe even come back, We went to several of the trails, We wanted to take you guys to the actual marsh, but we couldn't because 2 was closed, and we're not sure why. It just was saying closed. But anyways, enough about that. Again, I want to say thank you for joining us. And, I just appreciate the comments. I appreciate people coming in, looking at what we do, and subscribing. And really, subscribe and like. And what that does, that tells YouTube that you guys find our program interesting. And they tell other people about it. And that makes people know what we do. But the final thing I want to close on here is that one of the things we have right now, and this is pretty much anywhere in the world, you have domestic abuse. And a good example was Diana. You know, she lived free. She lived free by herself for a long time. And when she finally decided to get involved with somebody, he turned out to be an evil man, Mr. Wilson, who beat her. And because he beat her, and back in that time period, it was always the wife's fault, and it was never the man's fault, and you know, it was just a bad time in our history. But what I want to tell you is, if you're in a situation where every day you feel like you're being threatened, whether you're a male, a female, you know, it doesn't matter what your sexual preference is. That's not the point of this. The point is, if you feel that your life is in danger, or heaven forbid children are involved, do me a favor. Please do me a favor. Get away from that situation. Get as far away from it as you can. There are things like restraining orders that you can do to get that person to go away from you. And if they don't, there's serious consequences. And get on these hotlines. There's hotlines all over the place. I forgot to get the numbers for you guys, and I'm really sorry. Maybe what I'll do is when we upload the video, me and Mike, I'll put some links. So if you think that you need help, you can call these hotlines or get on these online anonymous tip lines to get some help. Don't live your life feeling every moment might be your last. That's not what it's supposed to be. Again, I'm not trying to get preachy on you folks. It's just things like this that I think about all the time, especially when I hear stories about Diana of the Dunes. As usual, thank you for spending your time with me, and I hope to see you in the next campground of America. Take care, and God bless.